I don't know if I've ever seen an honest Barndominium thumbnail. And then on top of that, when we talk about shop tours, pretty much everybody shows you the things that they did in their shop that were super smart. Not a lot of people show you all the mistakes. So we are going to do a tour of this Barndominium. I'm going to give you a tour of the shop. I'm going to cover 11 major things that we did wrong. And we'll also cover a couple of the things that we did right. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to try to move through this really fast. Okay, let's run through the building specs really quick. This building is 50 feet deep by 74 feet long. If you do the math on that, it'd be 3,700 square feet, but it's actually 39 because there's a little 200 square foot room upstairs. I'll show you that in a minute. The living space, why I call this a Barndominium, is we attached an apartment to the backside of this that we could rent out that would hopefully help us pay for this building over a long period of time. The apartment is a 700 square foot apartment, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, has its own laundry and everything like that. It's open concept. It's actually a very nice little apartment. Someday I actually want to put stairs in it and connect it to that 200 square feet that's upstairs, so I can actually make it a 2-bedroom apartment, which would be kind of nice. As far as the shop is 54 feet by 50. So it's, a grand total of 2,700 square feet. And then if we talk about, the missing 300 square feet is back in the back over there. There is an office, and the office is where we do all of the video editing and computer work that is necessary to run a YouTube channel. It's where all the camera equipment and everything like that is stored as well. The other thing I will say is on the outside, on the front of this building and on the side, we have covered porches. So there's actually 750 square feet of additional covered space. We use that to hide cars under that we're working on. Also, in addition to that, we have put up all this pallet racking. We actually have built like second floors in here because they can support so much weight. And we've been able to add 800 square feet of space to utilize just in this shop. Now, the big lie that I always see is there's always these Barndominium thumbnails out there where they're telling you that you can have a building like this or even bigger for $74,000. And all of those ones where they give you that little quote, that's usually just like the steel package. That's it. Also, those are usually pole barns. This is not a pole barn. This is constructed just like a house. So it has fully insulated. We can work in here in the winter and it stays very warm. We do have heaters and AC in here, but you don't actually have to use them as much as you would think because it stays pretty cool. All those Barndominiums that are like $74,000 for this, that's not including even interior walls. It's not including insulation. It's not including electrical, plumbing, anything. Now, I live in Idaho where they have to go pretty deep on the footings because of it freezing here and everything like that. So just know, like everything or a lot of things in this world, it's just clickbait. You're gonna have to do a lot of research to actually build one of these. I still made a ton of mistakes building this building. So we're gonna jump into those in just a second. First though, I'm gonna give you a quick tour of the layout. Today's video is sponsored by Jackery. Jackery has a huge sale going on for Prime Big Deal Days, which is October 7th through 8th, where you can get up to 65% off. This is the Jackery Explorer 1000 version 2. It has the foldable handle, which is nice. They also upgraded it to where it has the Life PO4 batteries. So that makes it actually 30% lighter. It's also like 18% smaller. This thing can charge from being empty at 0 all the way to full in 1 hour. These batteries can handle 4,000 cycles, which means after 10 years, if you did 1 cycle every single day, this thing would still have like 70% of its capacity. They actually come with a 3-year warranty. If you will register it with Jackery, they will give you an additional 2 years. Specifically for this sale, make sure to check out the dual product bundle. Enjoy the biggest discount of the Prime Big Deal Days, up to 65% off. This bundle is perfect for essential home backup. It can provide power for multiple rooms so your family stays, worry-free no matter where you are. I actually switched over to electric cooking recently. These have plenty of power. The other thing that I tend to take with me is a Starlink Mini. Starlink Mini does require a 100-watt PD port, and that would be this one right here. So they have a port that will work great to power a Starlink. I obviously have to do YouTube. I have to do this thing in front of cameras that use batteries, lots of things that use batteries. So I use this thing to top off all of my batteries and drones. I also use it to run run our 12-volt fridge. There is a link in the description below to Jackery's big sale. Okay, if you watched our last video, it was basically like an origin story of the farm where all this is set up. Right over there behind me is our old farmhouse. Originally, we were going to try to do a remodel on that, and my wife actually supported me in building the shop instead, because the shop makes money, fixing up the house doesn't. She's basically a saint. But yes, this is my commute from work. I walk from there, across the driveway, over to here. Back here is the rental that we're not going to go in because we have people renting it right now, and they have their own parking lot on the back side of the shop, away from all of this noise and stuff. Once you come in the front door, you're immediately going to see we're not as organized as I wish that we were, but this is a perfect example. This shelf is all parts for the FC build. We have to collect parts for these builds for so long because they're complete builds. From the axles to the engines to the glass to every single component, we generally have to hunt it down, find it, and put it together. So you end up having massive amounts of storage space needed just to collect parts to be able to like get the work done. So we've got some suspension up here, we've got torque converter, spare axles, radiators, wheels, all kinds of stuff. As we continue along here, you can see some of this pallet racking that I was talking about. So there's a whole second floor up here that's a lot of space. It's a mess because it's all of our personal stuff, like camping stuff. And then up there is that 200 square foot, that door to nowhere, is that little 200 square foot room that I was talking about. Down here, we have these cubbies where we've put pegboard on all the sides. You know, we have sections like this that's all fab equipment. As we're building this shop out and increasing the capabilities of the shop, it's almost impossible to fully set the shop up because we get a new piece of equipment and then we have to move everything. So a lot of these shelves are just remnants of us having to completely move everything in one corner of the shop to a whole nother side of the shop. That's one thing why I would tell you guys, don't do anything crazy to like hard build stuff into your shop until you've used it for like over a year at least. Pallet racking I love because if I decide I don't want this platform here, I can always take it down and move it someplace else. Even the pegboard walls that we put on it are just fastened with screws that are very easy to take out. So pallet racking's kind of an amazing thing. I'd put that in the category of things that we actually did right in the shop. So cubbies give you more wall space. That was the other thing we learned right away. Wall space is at a premium. I'm really glad we didn't do pass-through doors on the other side, you know, where you could drive through from this side straight through over to there, because you end up finding out that you just run out of wall space. The more doors you have, the less wall space, and that's where you have to put all the equipment. So obviously we have two lifts that you can pull in. They are positioned pretty far forward in the shop. And the idea behind that is we wanted to be able to load vehicles on the lifts, and we wanted to still be able to fit a whole vehicle behind them that was on the ground that we could also work on. So technically you could fit 4, 5 vehicles in here and work on them all at the same time. The reality that we found is by the time we're working on 2 vehicles on here at the same time on major projects, the floor space is completely full of parts and stuff, and that really is about all you can fit. So I'll go right off the bat and tell you guys one of the things I did wrong is I think I positioned these too far forward. By the time you add all your toolboxes and all the stuff that you need on this side to be able to turn around and like actually work on the engines and everything like that, these lifts are too far forward. When you looked at this room as an empty room and saw where these were positioned, it looked like you had a mile to work with from here all the way to over here. But by the time everything fills in, you just don't. It gets really cramped really, really fast. We have a lot of campers and people that come and crash here that are friends of the channel. So having a full bathroom out here that they're able to use is awesome. My daughter picked out this. So don't ask me, I don't know. Anyhow, so full bathroom. This is the fabrication corner over here. So we have every single piece of fab equipment that we use on a regular basis is all on wheels, so we can move it around. So you can stash it all in these corners, pull it all out. We'll go through some of that on some of the things we've done right and some of the things we've done wrong in just a minute. Over here, I used to have, so upstairs, you can see couches and a TV. I used to have that, was like a lounge that was down here on this floor. And quickly we were like, no, we need that space for shop. But the idea behind the lounge is I wanted a place where my kids could come and hang out in here when we're working, and, you know, just by nature of being around each other, have more conversations, get to know each other better, try to be a better dad. So we lost the lounge on the first floor, and now it's a treehouse lounge that is also turned into the OutdoorAuto.com shipping center. So it's kind of cool because we actually do, me and my son hang out up there. That's my son helping me package up more of the jack mounts for you guys. They're all going in boxes. By the way, what do you guys think of our, the shop is obviously way down there. This is our ladder up to our merch area. So yeah, we have a tree house in the shop for doing merch orders. It's kind of fun. We'll watch a show together and we do all the boxing and ship out all the products that you guys buy. So like those are mounts for the Badlands 1.5 ton jack. All of our shirts, sweatshirts, hats, all that stuff is up there. So we got a treehouse lounge for the kids. And then of course, this thing takes up a ton of space. So that's kind of the layout. You know, we've got a tire machine here. Back in that corner over there, we actually have the balancer. But I'll show you the last little part of the office is through this tunnel, we have the editing room. My kids call it Dad's Dungeon of Editing. Camera equipment, and then of course, all the editing and all the calendar of trying to organize videos to try to be able to get videos out more regularly. We try to get one out every week. Obviously that doesn't always work out with everything going on. And then of course, our nuts and bolts bins we got off of Facebook Marketplace. They work great. Okay, ready for the speed round. We're gonna do the 11 major things that I did wrong building this place. I'm gonna try to move through these as fast as possible. So the first one right off the bat is solar power. I'm sad that this one is on the list. This one cost me a small fortune and is never gonna pay for itself. There is a ton of equipment in here that uses a lot of power. Outside on the farm, we have pumps for the fields and everything that use a ton of power. We have the main house on here. We have the rental house on here. We use a lot of electricity. So I put in 2 huge solar arrays. And I thought the benefit of that was gonna be, hey, you know, we're not gonna have to sweat it if we run the AC in the shop in the winter, and we're not gonna have to sweat running this, you know, the heater and things like that to be comfortable because we film in here and work in here all day, pretty much every day. So I thought this was a great idea. It was a great idea for 6 months. And why I say that is we put in the solar panel, it worked great. We put in an extra big panel so it generate excess power that we sell back to Idaho Power, actually. And then that gives you enough credits to pay for when you're using power when there wasn't any sun. So the idea was to try to get rid of my power bill. You know, within 6 months of that, Idaho Power said, oh, you know that money that we pay you for the extra power that you generate and put in the grid? We're not gonna do that anymore. We're gonna pay you way less. And they have the power to do that whenever they want. Nobody can do anything about it. So you can install a system that, like I said, small fortune. I'm not even gonna say how much because it just makes me sick how much it cost me. And within 6 months, they cut it to where the power that they buy back for me is so cheap now that I still have a power bill, even though I can generate 3 times the power that my whole entire property uses. I still have a power bill every single month, and that thing is never gonna pay it off. It is a huge, huge money pit. So be careful if somebody tries to sucker you into solar power, and make sure who controls how much they're gonna pay you for the power that you generate. Moving along, next thing up, offset studs. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, okay, we have an apartment over there. We put a ton of insulation, expensive stuff in the wall to do sound dampening. Didn't matter, sound travels straight through it. Super annoying, which means I can really only rent that apartment to like close family, close friends, people that are hardly ever home, or people that work all the same hours that we're working out here in the shop. So there's a way where you can offset studs. One stud goes here, one stud goes there. The drywall goes on, so there's no way for the sound to hit this wall and carry directly through to the other side of the wall. I needed to do something like that to set this up. You can imagine, this is a full automotive shop. We're doing fabrication here. We're running all kinds of loud machines constantly. So that was a big problem, because now the earning potential of my rental that is supposed to help me pay for this building at some point is also harder to earn money, because the pool of people I can rent to is much more limited. Someday when the people that are in there move on, I will probably tear out the wall on the inside of the apartment, the drywall, tear it down, I'll fix the wall, and I'll probably add that second bedroom, turn it into a 2-bedroom, and be able to get back to renting it. I'm not a builder as far as building homes. So I kind of wish the people that would have built this, that knew full well we were going to rent that, would have recommended that. I feel like they were builders and probably knew about that style of studding walls. But I figure, trying to keep it in budget or something, so they just didn't say anything. So anyhow, that was a big mistake that I made. I should have done my research better. Moving along, I would recommend in a shop like this, I would put like corrugated metal along the walls, like at chair rail height. So like waist height from the ground up. Because right now we have so many carts on wheels and everything that knock into the walls. We're gonna destroy the drywall that's down low to the ground very, very rapidly. So some kind of metal chair rail, instead of investing all the money in drywall, I think probably would have been a good idea. No matter how many plugs you put in, you will always need more. The other big one was 220. Running plugs for 220, I ran a lot. In fact, if we step out here, I have a 220 plug in this wall, I have another one here, I have another one there, and I have 3 of them in this wall over here, as well as one outside. So you think, oh, that's a lot. Not even close. And it's not because we actually run equipment on all of those at the same time. It's more than anything, it's the welder. You're moving the welder around and you're trying to work on different sides of vehicles that are hanging out the door sometimes, that are in all different positions. And either you're just running a massive extension cord everywhere. These things are super thick. They are super expensive. And they're, when that's running across the floor, and yet every other tool that you have that's big is on wheels, it gets in the way constantly. So one thing that we learned was I added in 220 volts after plugs afterwards, like on places like this, that are more like central to the middle of the shop. Like I wish I had one right there on that wall. And then I also wish that now I will run one in conduit, probably from the ceiling down, and just put it on the side of some of these pallet racks. Okay, so in the same vein of that, I thought I did really well. I bought a really good compressor in the beginning that could power all my tire machines, the plasma table, even both of those running at the same time. So I was like, yes, I did the buy once, cry once thing and just got the big expense out of the way. Well, then I piped in all this black piping that you see on the ceilings up here. This is all air tubes, and I ran air connections, like there's multiple ones along that back wall. There's one over here. There's one that goes all the way over across to the other side of the shop, and I thought, yeah, it's gotta be enough air. Not even close. Again, while the whole shop was empty and I could run a cherry picker around inside of here, I wish that I would have run more, especially over in that corner where I have the plasma table. I need a 220 outlet in there. I need air over there. I need a whole bunch of stuff over there. Oh, and water, actually, for filling. So some of that stuff would have been better thought out. I really wish I would have done that. The other one is vents. So when you're running a welder in here, or a plasma table, or tons of grinders and all this stuff cutting metal, the air in here gets really toxic really fast. We had all these doors where you're like, oh, we can open up the doors, but you really quickly learn that like 3-4 months out of the year in the summer, It's not nice to have the doors open, and 3-4 months out of the winter, it's not nice to have the doors open. So what I ended up adding in is this little vent over here that automatically opens up when we turn on a huge fan over that door. And it takes the air across from one side of the building to the other and sucks it out, and it can cycle through the entire air in this entire building in 15 minutes. So putting in a big fan like that, I did it after the fact, so the install's much more of a pain. You're cutting into your building and everything and rerunning electrical, whereas if I have done it when I was building the building, it would have been way easier and way cheaper. So think about your venting if you're gonna do any type of welding, grinding, anything like that. Okay, here's a dumb one, but I really wanted my bathroom to have a urinal, and I let the builders talk me out of it because I think the valve that flushes a urinal, they were like, oh, it's really expensive. But the thing is, the logic behind wanting a urinal was not just like some boy thing. Guys are gross. I don't know if this is news to any of you guys, but this bathroom gets so nasty. In fact, look at the sticker on the back of it. I had to add that sticker because it was just too much in here sometimes. A urinal over here on this wall would have been rad. I did put floor tile on the wall. And I even had somebody in a video make fun of me and tell me that I was white trash because I had floor tile on my wall. I don't know if he's ever been in bathrooms where people are constantly cleaning dirty, oily hands and peeing all over the place, but putting tile, I wish I would have done it on that wall, and I really wish I would have done it on this wall because when we're cleaning stuff in the utility sink, it splashes out on there. So yeah, tile on wall, let everybody on earth call you white trash. It's brilliant, super easy to clean, and way better than having drywall in your bathroom. Okay, one of the first things people are going to comment about is carpet. I have carpet in an automotive shop, and you're gonna think that should be on the list of things that I did wrong, but you have to remember we have to film in here. So while it's an automotive shop and a fabrication shop, it's also a film studio. So the carpet, we knew the carpet was gonna look like crap. It's peel and stick carpet. It's easy to peel up and replace tiles. The carpet is very strategic where it is along certain walls and cubbies to cut down on the echo. You can hear it echo. My audio on my channel sucks. In fact, I'm meeting with a guy when I get back from Trail Hero to try to help me fix it even more. But if you would have heard this place before we put carpet in the corners of everything, it was 10 times worse. Going with these very expensive bin pack lifts worked because we don't really know the variety of vehicles that we will work on over the years. And some of our vehicles, like the FC, has a very tall roof. That thing's like over 8.5 feet tall already, okay? So having these crazy extra tall lifts, the top of the lift I think is 13.5 feet, if I remember right. It's 14-foot roof right there. So this works for us, but that's not necessary for everyone else. The other thing that we did is we went with the newer bin pack lift where it can handle an asymmetric or symmetric setup for loading vehicles. For air conditioning and heat, mini splits. These little guys, little box right outside, plummet straight through the wall, not a ton of HVAC tubes going everywhere. These little, just those two alone can keep this place nice and cool. So if you're trying to do air or heat and it doesn't get too cold, mini splits are awesome. They have heat pumps, so they don't work once it gets below like 22 degrees outside. They're not efficient anymore. We do have a propane heater that is crazy big. I didn't actually pay for one that big. They just shipped the wrong one, so we ended up with a massive one. Nice thing with that is I have to turn it on for about 5 minutes, warms the whole place up, and we're good for a couple hours. So if we're filming, it doesn't have to just keep running and running and running because we'd never be able to film with that thing on. Okay, so here's another one that's kind of a luxury item, but it's really cool. Do these type of doors. So a lot of people have the doors where they roll up and then they come straight out and they give you that low roof. These ones roll up and then they hug the roof line. Same thing even with the huge door here. It goes all the way up to the roof first and then it cuts over. So Even if we have all the doors in here open on all the beautiful days in the spring and some of the days in the fall, the doors are way up and out of the way. Okay, so here's some really, really quick hits. Make sure you have a utility sink in your shop. Utility sinks are awesome. If you don't, I really don't know how you're gonna keep everything clean. Let's talk shelving that isn't pallet racking. If you need smaller shelving than pallet racking, we use these cheap shelves that are like from Home Depot or Lowe's. I usually layer them up, and then in the middle, I just get a countertop and I put a countertop on it. So the middle of it, you can have a workspace, and then the rest of it is just your normal shelving. This is abnormally expensive looking countertop, but they were clearancing out a bunch of hardwood countertops. So I actually got a whole bunch of those, but normally I would have just used plywood, but those were getting clearanced out and were literally like the same price as plywood. Okay, let's talk pegboard. Pegboard walls are awesome. We put pegboard just about everywhere we can. We don't have it all filled up yet, but you know, just being able to lay out, like for example, all of our fixtures for our fixture tables for welding and just have them right there on the walls is amazing. So putting pegboard just about everywhere you can to get extra storage space, that's a no-brainer. Everybody knows that, but they only put like 1 or 2 pieces on their wall. We even put them on the sides of all the cubbies and everything. Okay, final one is wheels on everything. Wheels, wheels, wheels. All of our tables that go around the shop have wheels. Even our fixture tables, where we set up all kinds of stuff. We actually just built the whole entire frame and bed of the truck on the fixture tables. These things have like 2,000-pound like load roller wheels that are lockable on the bottom. So we have wheels on everything because you never know where you're gonna be setting up in a shop. You can literally just have a corner where you shove all the carts, and when you need stuff, you pull it out, and when you're done, put it back. Okay, so we're gonna cover tools really quick. I'm not gonna go into the depth on a lot of this, but there's a couple important things I would definitely point out. We had to outfit a whole entire fabrication shop as well as a mechanic shop. We're not there yet. We don't have every tool, but we're well on our way. And I would say, I think we did quite a bit of it right. In fact, tools is the one thing I never really regret buying. And I still haven't bought a tool yet in building out this whole entire shop that I have a huge amount of regret over. So like, first of all, I went and bought, this is like a full Master Mechanic set of tools. It's not expensive tools. They're cheap tools. We've broken some of these tools. Not a ton of them. They've done well. They have a lifetime warranty, so when you break them, you can just send it in and they'll send you another one. But the thing is, I had to start somewhere, and we didn't have the money to go get all these snap-on tools. I think right now I literally have 2 snap-on tools. I have a snap-on ratchet, which by the way, is my only ratchet right now that sticks and has a problem. It's not a knock on snap-on, it's just ironic that the only nice ratchet I've ever bought is the one that I have the problems with. Other than that, everything else was cheap tools. So I bought this whole master kit. It was way cheaper than buying something nice. And the reason is I just needed to hit the baseline, get the baseline covered. As you know, years and years later, we're going to accumulate some good tools where we actually need good tools. And all the other bases are covered by cheap basic stuff. Same like you look at it's a Badlands jack, a Badlands jack, a Harbor Freight jack, another Harbor Freight jack. We aren't splurging for the expensive stuff. That toolkit box came with that tool set. This is a Husky box from like Lowe's. So we spent money on the important stuff, like a really good air compressor that could handle massive CFM, because we knew we were gonna need that once we were running all the big machines. So I didn't buy twice on that. I just bought once, I bought something expensive, but everything else I buy cheap stuff. Now, the other thing is, for your own safety or things that you're gonna use all the time, get something good and efficient. So like, we have a good spring compressor. In fact, we have 2 different types. We have one that we can work under the car with, and then we have one where we can take the shocks off and put it in here. Instead of those like dumb little, I'm gonna call them the almost kill you every time you use them ones, but even those ones, they aren't expensive. They're like, I think that one's 70 bucks. I think the other one that we use underneath that's fantastic, it's been in other videos, again, 70 bucks. I can link to them. But like things like that, where it would be a danger to you if you're working on compressing springs all the time, get the correct right tool that actually is safe. Name brand stuff, we're not big name brand people. We have a bunch of Milwaukee stuff. We also have a bunch of DeWalt stuff. The reality is we break all of those. We've already went through, I think, 2 drills, 1 impact. This is just in the last year. We break this stuff all the time. We're to the point where once we go through and break probably all the name brand stuff that we have, a lot of the stuff that we use all the time, like impacts and drills and grinders, we're probably just gonna start buying Harbor Freight stuff. I'm not saying it's better, but I'm telling you, when you compare the price of like the Harbor Freight grinder versus the Milwaukee grinder, and then how long they last, because we pretty much break them all, it's not long enough to necessarily justify the cost, for us at least. So we get away with using a decent amount of cheap tools. We have the Ranger. This is the same guys that make bin packed lifts. Because of making the lift video, we paid for the lifts full price, but because we made that, they appreciated it because that video did good. We got a big discount on our tire machines. So we have some nice tire machines. The actual Ranger tire machine that we have over here is a pretty good one, but I don't think most people need that. We make so many tire videos, we use that thing constantly. Now I'm gonna dive into the stuff where, again, I don't think some of it's top dollar, some of it's not. Swag is a company we've bought a lot of stuff from. We're not sponsored by Swag. I don't think they know that we exist. But we use their tube bender constantly. We use their little table for their bandsaw. We love it. Nowadays that we have our own plasma table, we probably just would have made our own, but we got that before we had that. And then also we use their tube notcher, which is down here right now. We use that constantly. So we're kind of big fans of Swag. Also their add-on tools, where they have stuff that they add on to like Harbor Freight tools. We've been a big fan of that. So this is a Harbor Freight 50-ton press. And then we have Swag's finger brake. The finger brake is awesome. You know, you've got the individual removable fingers, so you can do more specialized bends with it. And then we also have the 12-ton. By the way, I don't recommend this thing. We bent this thing so fast. The 20-ton is way better. So if you're gonna get a press from Harbor Freight, either get the 50-ton or get the 20-ton. Avoid the 12-ton, in my opinion. Also, that might not be their fault. We're pressing something that was more than 12 tons. Just, it's the buy once, cry once thing again, get a 20-ton. The Ameribraid grinder. This thing is top of the line. The price tag on it probably reflects that, but it's worth every penny. Every single component of this thing is basically perfect. They have fantastic support if you do ever have a problem. We use this every single day. We use it for tube notching. Most of our notching we do on this. Only really, really complicated long diagonal cuts and stuff we do on the Swag notcher. The rest of it we do on this because it has all the little radiuses down here for doing all your tube notching. We just throw this on here, grind them out. It grinds them out super fast, super clean. Between me and Zeph, it's a toss-up between the Ameribraid and the plasma table as far as our favorite tool, but both of them get used every single day here. The Evolution cold cut saw is pretty fantastic if you don't want to be sending sparks and all kinds of craziness through your shop. Again, this is the miter one. These are our tools that we actually spent money on. These are expensive tools, but you buy them once, they work, and it's like between a bender, grinder, finger brake, cold cut, all that, you can do crazy, awesome fabrication. Well, people like Zeph can do it, and I learn watching him and try to learn how to do it myself as well. But people like Zeph can do amazing things with that. The other company we use a lot of their stuff is Langmuir Systems. Again, we're not sponsored by any big tool companies. Langmuir Systems seems to spend like 2-3 years trying to figure out how to make a really advanced fab tool way cheaper than everyone else is making it and have it still be good quality. They absolutely killed it on their fixture tables. These things are like the quality of like some of the best stuff out there, and yet they're very affordable. We actually, each one of those is 2. So we have 2 there and 2 there. So we actually have 4 Langmuir fixture tables. and we have their crossfire table. So these are the important tools that make the world go around here, that is taking it to where instead of just making bolt-on trucks, we can now make stuff like this. There's a tiny bit of original frame there. There's a tiny bit of original body. Everything else has been changed, including the frame has been stretched and rerouted and all kinds of things. So these are the tools that make the world go around. These are our favorite ones. Hopefully, if you're looking at what does it take to build out a fabrication shop at your own house and do really good work, this is a list. This is a pretty good list. It's a pretty expensive list, but it's a pretty good list. Okay, so I am losing my voice. I hope you guys got what you wanted out of the tour. You guys have been asking for it for a really long time. I'm only two years into trying to build this setup and increase our capabilities to be able to keep doing more and more interesting builds for the channel. I think we're making a lot of progress. I feel like I'm learning a lot, but I feel like we still have a long ways to go. Thank you for watching. Your support means a lot to us. We could not do it without you guys. We're going down the trail, Hero, so we'll see you in a week.